full-scale rant vent session on the Los Angeles Lakers. Today I am delivering with a heavy heart the eulogy for the 2020 to 2021 Los Angeles Lakers. I know, did I jump the gun? Man, you're overreacting, blah, blah, blah. Why don't you ride for the team? First of all, I'm still riding for the team, all right? Back in 2018, when LeBron got hurt and the season was going nowhere, I still watched every fucking game until the end, all right? It hurt to watch, but I still watched them. So just because I think this season is done doesn't mean I'm not rooting for them every single game, doesn't mean I'm still not holding out hope watching every game. But objectively speaking, the season is done. If you're going to hate on me for being objective, just go click out of the video. I only got 12 subscribers anyways. I really don't give a damn, all right? I got nothing to lose at this point. Anyways, I'm still rocking, right? I'm still representing. I'm still fighting hard, all right? You see this shirt, all right? I wore the NBA Finals LeBron James shirt. I went to the gym, got some looks. I'm out in Boston right now, so I'm in enemy territory, but it is what it is. Anyways, a little bit caffeinated. I'm sorry. Back on my grind. Listen, man, about to rant, about to go off. This season was fucked from the get-go, but there was a lot of issues, and this is just going to be a straight rant vent session, all right? So if you're one of those, like, let's stay supportive of the team, man, like, we can do this still, fuck off, all right? This is a place for negativity. Anyways, let's go. Biggest complaints of the season so far is just the arrogance that I'm sensing from everyone involved with this fucking season, man. Everyone involved is so arrogant. I'm hearing it from the players. Oh, yeah, we don't care about the seed. Like, we don't care about what seed we're at. You should care because you don't want to be in the fucking play-in. That is dumb. You don't want to be in the play-in. If you're in the play-in and you're the 7th spot, you got to win 1 out of 2 games. That doesn't sound like a big ask, especially when you're playing against some of the shittier teams. But, bro, we've seen this team look like ass in a lot of the games, man. You could have 2 straight nights of terrible shooting and the opposing team is going off and you're done for, all right? Steph is on a roll right now. If you're playing the Warriors in a fucking play-in, it's not inconceivable for the Lakers to go 0-2. So all of the players who were saying we don't care about seeding, I just hated hearing that. And then all of the fans who were saying, oh yeah, we're good, we're Gucci, I hated hearing that. Another thing that's been bothering me is the arrogance all season long of the fact that, this team is by far the best team in the NBA when healthy and stuff like that. I just never agreed with that. Even in my old videos, I just never agreed with that because, look, man, when healthy, this team is a legitimate contender and one of the best teams in the NBA, but you can't just say they were the clear-cut best team in the NBA when healthy. Like, that didn't make any sense to me. There was way too many questions about this team. They were adding all these new guys that they had to integrate, and you just had no idea what it looked like. There was no continuity. And then when you looked at the effort level, even at the beginning of the season, I mean, AD was fucking sleepwalking, so how could you say they would be the best team in the NBA? So that didn't make any sense to me. Didn't make any sense to me. They were one of the best teams in the NBA, but the arrogance across the board of just fans and the players just thinking like we got this shit. That rubbed me the wrong way the entire season, and now this season is cursed, so it is what it is. And look, if they were healthy, maybe they would be dominating all these other teams. Who knows? We'll never find out because they weren't healthy. But I do think that the way they approached the season for the most part was just not a good approach. It just wasn't a good approach. And, the offseason is going to be tough, and the Lakers are going to have to face some serious questions, and they're going to have to face a lot of shit from the media this offseason. It is what it is. All right. Now that I've kind of got those things off of my chest and I'm going to keep ranting throughout, I just want to go through like an entire timeline, right? Rapid fire of the numerous red flags we should have saw with this team. And to be honest, I thought the season might be done as soon as LeBron got hurt. I just didn't want to put anything out yet because, listen, I was being, I wasn't being confident in my take. It is what it is. But I felt like the second he got hurt and it was a high ankle sprain, the season was pretty much done. But I still held out hope. Man. But now I have no more hope. I'm hoping that this video is a reverse jinx and I'm wrong and I get roasted for being wrong and they're holding up the trophy. But at this point, man, I don't think they're making it past the first round if they even make it through the play-in. I'm just being honest. I'm going to go through some of my reasons why. This is a full-scale rant video. I barely have anything planned. I'm just going off the fucking top, man. All right. We go back to the offseason. Right away in the offseason, there were some moves that were high risk, high reward, right? Like signing Montrezl Harrell was like, whoa, that like nobody expected that because you're wondering about fit, you're wondering about defensive fit, like what he can give you on offense and stuff like that, but you're like, man, like can he fit in defensively with this team? You're hoping that Vogel, being the defensive genius that he is going to incorporate Harrell and it's going to work out well, but you didn't fucking know, and it didn't look great, in the bubble when he was playing for the Clippers. So hey, there were some questions on that. I was like iffy on that move. I was also iffy on the Dennis signing. The trade for Dennis. We understood that Danny Green was very frustrating last year and stuff, but I kind of wanted to use the Danny Green first rounder trade chip for someone who fit a little bit better. I just didn't really think Dennis fit super well with this team. But hey, Dennis is still a talented player, so it's like, okay, we bring on Dennis and we bring on Trez. I would have rather had Dwight, but they took some risk and it was like, okay, that's interesting. But rarely do you see teams just kind of like change that dramatically after winning a championship. So right away, that was like sort of a red flag that we should have like been wary about. Granted, the ceiling of the team was a lot higher, but the floor was also a lot lower. So right away, that should have been something that we paid attention to. So those offseason moves, like specifically getting Harrell and Dennis, was one of those like, hey, boom or bust type moves. And so far this season, I would say it's busted more than boomed. And I still think Rob Pelinka's a great GM. I think he's going to address all the issues this summer. But hey, it was a swing and a miss, and a lot of it was because of injuries and stuff. But also, I think Vogel could have done a better job of integrating these guys. I don't think he ever figured it out. And people excuse Vogel because of all these injuries, but I still don't think he did a great job. So it started right away from the offseason when the team completely retooled, and you're like, whoa, that's a lot of new bodies to integrate. It can be done, but it's going to be tough. Right away, the NBA then announces a 71-day offseason. Or sorry, they didn't announce that, but they announced that the season's going to resume December. Boom. Not a lot of rest for the Lakers. You're like, oh, shit. Are they going to be healthy? Are they going to be ready? They're not going to have a lot of practices. They're not going to have training camp. They just, played really, really deep into the playoffs, to host a trophy. There was just like, man, it just wasn't enough time for these guys to get ready. It wasn't enough time for these guys to get mentally rested, physically rested. So that was really, really fucking bad. I felt like right away you're going to be leaning on Dennis and Trez and the new guys who have fresher legs to carry this team, and that's a big ask on them. When they announced that the league was restarting so quickly and it was going to be such a condensed season with 72 games, man, that did not bode well for the Lakers. So right away, you got all these new offseason additions who don't necessarily fit, right? Trez isn't a great shooter, and neither is Dennis. And now you're integrating both of those guys who have a lot of talent, but it's like, man, you probably want to surround LeBron and AD with more shooting, better defense, and it was going to be a tough fit, and then you don't have a lot of time to integrate those guys. You're already starting off like behind. Those are just the facts. Right away, the season begins, and Anthony Davis looks like shit. Like, he's averaging 21 points, which was the lowest scoring average since his rookie year, I believe. Just doesn't look interested in playing defense. Looks completely out of shape. Draymond Green is calling him out. Sure, AD had the injuries from the playoff run, and he hadn't recovered from them. But at the same time, you could tell like this dude hadn't really like stayed in shape during the offseason. He was kind of enjoying himself. And so when he came back, he just looked terrible. And I know the Lakers had a 21-6 record, but they also had a really, really easy first half schedule. So it was a mirage. And I felt like the issues for AD, like completely struggling and looking disinterested, that really concerned me because I expected him to take a leap coming off of that amazing playoff run, and he didn't. And I know that he was a little bit hurt. I know that he wasn't fully recovered, and it was a short, rest. But still, I'm just pointing out what I saw. Like, with all those factors in play, he just didn't look good. And some of those excuses are valid, but still, the fact of the matter is he did not look good. So I was a little bit concerned about that record. I was worried about AD's struggles. His complete, drop off in free throw percentage was the thing that concerned me the most. I'm like, this guy shoots 85% from the free throw line, and now he's just shooting 70%. Like, that's really fucking bad because you could see it in the way he was playing. He wasn't attacking the rim as much. He didn't have confidence at the free throw line. He draws a lot of fouls, but he just wasn't converting them, and it was really fucking up the entire offense, and it was fucking up his own confidence too. So those all looked bad. Then Vogel had a lot of complaints from the players, right? Like, there was too many guys that he that wanted to play and that deserved to play, and Vogel didn't really do a good job of establishing some sort of rotation. So he was going 11 deep, 12 deep routinely. Some guys were getting benched just to give other guys minutes, and then guys like Wes Matthews, guys like Keith were complaining about their minutes. So it just wasn't looking good. Right away, it looked like, man, there's a lot of people complaining, and there's not a lot of unity going on. There's not a lot of established roles and stuff like that, and those are difficult decisions to make, and I'm not saying Vogel had an easy path, but hey, I don't think he did a great job of establishing that hierarchy, establishing those roles right away, and figuring out some of his set rotations. He was fucking around way too much, and then they were just fortunate that they were winning games against really bad teams. And if you notice early on in the season, they were blowing some late leads to bad teams. They were barely holding on to some of these games against some of the worst teams in the league, like OKC. They lost a game to Detroit. They had a few injuries, but still, they just didn't really look like that dominant team that they looked like the season before. Okay. The season continues, and then AD has inflammation in his Achilles. Now, on my main channel, I recently transitioned to this channel with my 12 subscribers. I appreciate every single one of y'all. I don't care if it's only 12 for the rest of the life of this channel. I appreciate every single one of you. I'm going to continue to post. Anyways, when AD had that initial report of inflammation in his fucking right calf, I put out a video saying they should rest him through the All-Star break. They should rest him through the All-Star break. Let's not fuck around. They don't rest him at all. He plays 2 games later, and then what happens? He gets hurt against the Denver Nuggets. Now he's out for 9 weeks, or whatever the fuck it is. Like, boom, that fucked the season up right then and there. So when they announced he had inflammation, I was like, okay, it makes sense as to why he sucked this year. Rest him, let him get healthy, let him continue second half of the season and really try to ramp up. Didn't do that. Then that little inflammation got to became an actual strain, and then he was out for a while. So that fucked it up. So the re-injury was terrible. Then it was Vogel's offense completely collapsing. So Vogel historically has been a terrible offensive coach. His teams in Indiana progressively got worse and worse on offense. It's really easy to scout his teams. It's really easy to figure out the actions. He doesn't really run anything creative. He's a defensive guy. So even though the Lakers were like number 1 or number 2 in defensive rating throughout this entire time, when you can't hit shots and your offense is completely bogged down and there's no actions to get guys open and you're not countering help defense properly, which is a sign of all of Vogel's offenses. They just don't know how to counter and they do things that just don't make any sense. Like, what's going to happen to your legs? You're going to get frustrated, you're going to get tired, and then defensively your effort's going to go down. So Vogel's offense collapsing completely in February was just brutal. It was brutal, man. February, March, it was just an ugly turn of events. Finally, they start getting it together a little bit. They go on this little 4-game winning streak. It was kind of fool's gold because they played some shitty teams, and then LeBron, boom, gets hurt. Once LeBron was hurt, that should have been the nail in the coffin for the season. But hey, you don't know, right? It's LeBron James. Even though he's 36, you're like, hey, he is a cyborg. He's spending millions of dollars on his body. Maybe he can get get back quicker. Like who knows, right? Like, you're not going to bet against a cyborg. I was very concerned because it just reminded me of 2018 and 19 when he hurt the groin, and that was a much more serious injury than the high ankle sprain. But the high ankle sprain is still a serious injury that you need an appropriate amount of rest time, and he just wasn't going to get that. So the team somehow stays like somewhat alive during this stretch. They add Drummond, and now they're trying to integrate Drummond, and then things just completely have collapsed. And the reason why they've collapsed is just because more guys are getting banged up left and right. Dennis gets COVID the first time, or he doesn't actually get it, but he's in health and safety protocols, misses a few games. Mark actually gets COVID, so he misses 2-3 weeks, and he's coming back. His conditioning is sort of out of whack. And then Dennis fucking gets it again. And listen, I'm not going to talk about people's vaccination preferences. I just feel like, hey, you should get fucking vaccinated. That goes for LeBron as well. It's just one of those things where even though I'm the biggest LeBron stan in the world, it's sort of your responsibility. Like, it's, you know, I'm preaching vaccination. I think it's unsafe for everyone to not be vaccinated. I don't think it makes any sense. The data is out there. Go get vaccinated. You owe it to the rest of your team. You know, you need these athletes to get vaccinated. Otherwise, it spreads these really false narratives. And then, you know, as the nation, like, as part of the nation isn't getting vaccinated, then we'll never have like full vaccination and herd immunity. It just fucks things up. I'm not a doctor, so whatever. You want to get mad at the things I just said, fine. But I believe in vaccinations. I believe that you should get vaccinated. And even if Dennis doesn't want to get vaccinated, I felt like I was hearing stuff about his YouTube channel and how he was at amusement parks and shit. So it didn't really seem like he was being safe if he wasn't going to get vaccinated. And I bet you that LeBron's super safe. I bet you, like, LeBron's not getting vaccinated, but I bet you he's distancing himself from a lot of people. Like, he's really keeping it clean because he knows how much he means to the team. He can't just miss 2 weeks. And Dennis, it just seemed like, you know, from all the stuff I was piecing together, he was just out there doing his fucking thing, knowingly unvaccinated, and he fucked over the team. He fucked over the team, man. Now he's out until pretty much the playoffs start. I've been really disappointed in him. So those are all the red flags that have progressed as the season has continued. And then now, like, since AD came back, he's looked pretty terrible. Now you got guys like THT being out and stuff. So listen, it's been a wreck of a season. I think we're kidding ourselves if we think that this team is going to win the championship. There's just no chance. At this point, what's going to happen? They probably lose tonight to Portland. I hope I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, fucking I'll be the first one to admit it, and I'll laugh at myself. I'll react to myself being fucking wrong. No fear, man, no fear. But I think they're going to lose. Like, who knows if Caruso's even going to play. If Caruso doesn't play, they have no ball handling. AD fucking tweaked his ankle last night, backpedaling into the scorer's table. God damn, man, you got to have more awareness than that. You just got to have more awareness. He's been a space cadet this entire season. Like, man, at this point, I don't know what to believe. LeBron's hurt even more. He's hurt even more, man, than we thought, you know, than he let on. And look, LeBron's not coming back till like Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. We don't know how he's going to look coming back. Like, it's just not looking good, man. here are my predictions. My predictions are they lose a lot more of the remaining games. They're definitely going to be in the play-in spot, and who knows what happens then. I'm not going to really feel optimistic about this team if they do end up in the play-in spot. This team has no offensive structure, no game plan. Losing Rondo really hurt because Vogel can't coach an offense to save his life, but it helped a lot last year when he had LeBron and Rondo kind of act as floor generals, so Vogel really just had to worry about the defense. This year, LeBron's been out a ton. They don't have another floor general in Rondo. AD sort of mailed in the entire season. What do you expect, man? Like a bad offensive coach isn't going to fix things. He isn't going to put guys in the right places. He still doesn't really know what he's doing with a lot of these lineups, man. And the biggest issue I have with Vogel is he just fucks around too much. Like he's trying to be too smart. It's almost like people who are playing video games and say, "Oh, I'm not really trying. I'm just experimenting, and that's why I lost." It's like, all right, I believe you somewhat, and you do earn the benefit of the doubt because you won the championship last year. But at a certain point, like, why are you trying to get to the play-in, man? Like, why the fuck are you losing these games when these games now matter? You got to start building some sort of continuity. I felt like he should have been building it the second, maybe even a week before AD came back. He should have already been messing around with it. The big man rotation makes zero sense. I think Drummond's been scapegoated a lot, and it's unfair. But at the same time, like, Drummond has his issues, but Vogel hasn't done a good job. Like, Trez was really good for a portion of the season, but Trez recently, like, his legs look completely gone. Defensively, he looks like he's sort of given up. So I felt like Vogel should have been playing the center lineup of, like, Drummond and Gasol. And this entire time, he refuses to play Trez and Gasol, which makes no sense at all because defensively, you could probably make that work. Like, Trez can move his feet on the perimeter, man. Like, he's just not a good rim protector. So why not have Trez move his feet on the perimeter and then have Gasol be the sort of the big protecting the rim in the Trez-Gasol lineups? And then offensively, Trez can be your 5, and then Gasol can space out and hit threes. Like, you can use that lineup. You can fuck around with it. He just refuses to do it at all. He writes it off without even trying. But at the same time, he loves to play the Trez-Keith lineup, which is absolutely terrible. It just gives you absolutely nothing, and they get destroyed on the defensive end. They get destroyed on the boards. So it just makes no sense to me. Absolutely no fucking sense. Not a lot of what Vogel has done this entire season has made any sense to me. It seems like he's in over his head, man. And I know he hasn't been handed the best search situation, the best circumstances, but I also don't think he's done a good job this season. I really don't. And look, their defensive schemes and stuff, like, they are still number 1 in defense or number 2, but in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, their defense has completely collapsed, which was bound to happen when your offense is just that consistently bad. And it just sucks, man. So this is what I think is going to happen. If they lose in the play-in, Vogel's gone. If they lose in the first round, Vogel's gone. That is my prediction. If they lose in the first round or the play-in, he is gone this offseason. There's no chance they're bringing them back. If I'm wrong, hey, I don't care. I have no problem admitting I'm wrong. When the facts change, I'll change my opinions. I'll change my opinions to the facts. But I think he's out if they don't advance past the first round. I just don't think he's done a good job this season of, like, delineating roles, of putting guys in their respective places on the team. He's still playing all these lineups. He's just getting confused, man. Like, he is confused right now. He doesn't really understand what's going on. And the team being that bad in offense, I know with LeBron out, what do you expect? But still, man, like, there's just no semblance of a plan. There was a moment in time this season where they were running some good offense, like with these Iverson cuts where, like, Schroeder would get a screen off the ball and he'd cut across the court and then catch it and be able to move downhill. That's just not happening anymore. He just stopped that magically as soon as Anthony Davis came back. I don't know why they just didn't run that. And now Schroeder's in health and safety protocols. I'm pretty disappointed in Dennis. He was streaming on Twitch, like, in the third quarter of the Clippers game. That's just extremely unprofessional. Even if you're done watching the game and you're frustrated, you can't fucking be streaming on Twitch as a pro athlete right now. Like, when your team is playing, like, that's just really, really bad. That sends a terrible message. Like, it's just really immature, man. It's immature, and it really makes people question, like, how serious you're taking this stuff. Like, I know Dennis is a menace and he's a hell of a competitor on the court, but, like, man, that type of shit is just, like, that's the shit that championship teams simply don't do. So when you got one of your players, your starting point guard, your third best player, doing stuff like that after, being irresponsible and fucking going out while he's not vaccinated, like, I don't know what else to say, man. I don't know what else to say. Just not a good look. Not a good look. And now the Lakers are in a tough spot. This is what I would do if I were them. And I'm sorry for this disorganized rant. I'm fucking pissed off. I'm being honest with you guys. It is what it is. I'm sort of amped up right now. I had to just go to the gym to get my frustrations out. I think, it's very likely they lose, like, all but 2 of their games. I would be surprised if they get any wins for the rest of the season. It's just too disjointed. And if they're losing a lot of these games, I would not be surprised if they shut down LeBron for the rest of the year. I know that is my hot take. That is my flaming hot take of this season. I know a lot of you are saying no chance LeBron's playing if it's the playoffs. It all depends, man. LeBron's ankle is pretty banged up. A full recovery from a high ankle sprain is 12 weeks. He tried to come back in 6. It didn't work out. He didn't look explosive. I don't think he re-aggravated it, but it just definitely didn't feel great. And now he's sitting out for even longer. If they're just completely collapsing and you're LeBron, why even fucking play anymore? Like, you could talk about LeBron, needing to have the heart of a competitor, blah, 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 but this team's not really going anywhere, man. They just don't really have it. They don't have the togetherness. They're completely disjointed. Guys don't look right. Like, Keith right now has completely collapsed ever since he twisted his ankle. He can't hit a fucking three-pointer to save his life. I think he's shooting like 8% from 3 in the last 3 weeks or something like that. AD looks completely fucked up. This dude has no idea what's going on right now. And like he couldn't even catch the ball on the post against Marcus Morris, man. He was letting Marcus Morris push him out 3-4 feet beyond the 3-point line. He's clearly not trusting his leg. He needs an entire offseason to get right, and he needs to readjust his mentality because he came in this season with the wrong mentality. I felt like he got way too complacent after that one ring. And it's like, hey, if you just want to win one ring, congratulations, you did it. If you want to be an all-time great and you want to be a Laker legend, you got to do more than that. You got to do more than that, and you got to work harder. You got to be hungrier. And I felt like AD took things for granted coming into this season. You could talk about him being injured all you want, but things, his lackadaisical approach and his complete lack of care has really bothered me. And LeBron cares. LeBron cares, and he's fighting his ass off to try to do this, but I just don't think he's healthy. I don't think he's even close to being healthy. That's why if the Lakers keep losing games, let me turn on my light. All right. That's why if the Lakers are completely fucking up towards the remaining games of the season, I think they may just shut down LeBron. That's what I think. They may shut down LeBron. At this point, like, it's tough envisioning LeBron not coming back from a play-in, but I think he's a lot more hurt than people realize. That was a bad fucking sprain. Silver linings. I don't think it's over. Like, I don't think it's over for the LeBron tenure with LA. Like this is where, like, I actually mean what I'm about to say. Like, this is where the hope isn't fake, it's genuine. I think LeBron can still play at a really high level for 4 or 5 years easy. I just think he can go to his post game more and more, which is still super effective, and it's like one of the best weapons in the league. He just chooses not to do it. Because he still like wants to just fuck with the perimeter until he can't. So he can still go in the post game. LeBron's game's gonna age extremely well. Rob Pelinka is still a great GM, even though like he took some risks this offseason. I think this summer he's gonna clean up a lot of those things. And Rob Pelinka understands team building. He understands team building. It's just you swing for the fences at times, and it didn't work. I think like a lot of the players didn't do a good job, and Vogel didn't do a good job either. So I get what Pelinka was trying to do. It just didn't work. Okay, now you got to go fix it. But I still trust Pelinka long term, running this team, running this organization. So I trust Rob long term, and I think LeBron plus Pelinka and Clutch, they're gonna make it work. They're gonna still build a really competitive team for the next 3 to 5 years. So I think the Lakers will still be competitive, and just because they don't win this year doesn't mean they can't win it next year. Like, I think they can. So that's what I believe. I think Talon Horton-Tucker is a young player who's gonna continue to get better and better. Like, a lot of fans are frustrated by him, but he's only 20. The best is yet to come. If he's gonna get a full offseason this summer to really develop and work on his game, I think he's gonna come back next year and be an absolute monster. Be 21 years old. So they got some young talent coming through. The tough decisions are going to be made with Dennis. Like, what do you do with Dennis? Obviously, you want to try to re-sign him just to keep the asset, because if you let him walk, then you're losing him for nothing. Hopefully, they could work out a sign and trade. I just don't think the long-term fit with Dennis is there, and I really think Dennis's attitude this entire season has just been like really, really fucking toxic, man. Like, he came in demanding to start on a championship team. Okay, I get it, but other than that, it's just been like this entitled attitude of like, oh, I'm rejecting this, I'm rejecting that. Fine, you want to try to get the most of your money, that's fine, but it's like his play hasn't been great this entire season. He's been up and down. On top of that, he's been really irresponsible with some of what he's been doing off the court, and he's been in COVID protocols twice. Now he has COVID. It just seems really irresponsible to not get the vaccine when you know how much you mean to this team. And I don't think the Lakers are happy with how he's done a lot of these things, but he holds all the leverage because he can walk for nothing, and the Lakers would be screwed in terms of the cap. So like I still think they try to work something out and then maybe sign and trade him to another team that wants him, and that I think that would be the best outcome. Is this season ends in flames. It's just been a cursed season. It is what it is. Doesn't mean I didn't think this team had the potential to win the championship. They did, but just too many injuries, a lot of coaching mismanagement, confusion about roles, rotations, certain players just not being focused on the season, certain players not getting healthy. Just a fucking shitstorm that just all came together and became a shit tornado. And yeah, so hey, silver linings continue. I'm all over the place, but they're going to get a good draft pick this year, and the draft is pretty deep this year. There's a lot of great role players that you can pick up. The Lakers are a really great drafting organization. Their scouting department is sick, so you get to keep your first round pick this year. So if you end up in the play-in, which is what's going to happen, the Lakers will have a pretty good first round pick, and they can add somebody. I would try to add a big. I would definitely try to add a big, maybe a raw mobile center. I don't know if that's available, but I would try to add a center with minimal offensive skills, but it's just raw, but mobile on the defensive end, and then try to get that center to just rim protect and bring a lot of that tenacity. Trez is probably going to opt out. I would let Trez walk and just let it go. I would try to add someone for the mid-level on the wings. And in the guard situation, I would be grooming THT to take a bigger role next year. But Dennis is still going to be the starting point guard most likely. But if you can work out a sign and trade for Dennis, I would work out that sign and trade and get him the fuck out of LA and try to get someone else who's a better shooter, who's more like responsible and is just like, someone who carries himself like a true professional off the court. I sound harsh right now, but that's just how I feel. That's how I approach the offseason. The Lakers don't have a ton of like assets and room to maneuver, but don't doubt Rob. I really think Rob will figure it out. He had to swing big this offseason to try to get something done. It just hasn't worked out. It's not completely his fault. It's just a lot of everything that could have went wrong has gone wrong. That's pretty much what's happened. So that's what I think is going to happen. And then you just got to get LeBron and AD healthy, man. Get those guys healthy, and then really get AD back in the lab once he recovers. Like fix that free throw percentage. It's been a wreck, and then get him back to shooting the three well. Get him back to shooting the mid range. Like really work on his game and his aggressiveness and his body. And for LeBron, it's just about getting him healthy. He was playing at an MVP level. He probably would have won it if he stayed healthy. For LeBron, it's just about rest and then getting him healthy. And that's pretty much it. But they got a lot of decisions to make this offseason. I think they will figure some things out, but it just sucks. But this is the eulogy for the season. That's how I feel. Maybe I'm calling it prematurely, but man, it's too much to ignore. Catch you guys later.